Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Trading Post, and this is episode 8. This involves the Appalachian disappearances and the Bennington Triangle. And I'm going to go ahead and go on with some missing 411 cases on here with whatever little research that I could do and drum up on top of solid investigation work that was already done on the case and throughout the years, depending on which cases was longer. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to get sorted out, and we're going to go ahead and start this up. All right, sorry about that. I just had a delay there. All right. So everyone, this episode we'll be going over some missing 411 cases, as I said, which were investigated and researched and documented by a man named David Paulides. Now, if you've never heard of him, I suggest you look at he's got books and documentaries and stuff like that discusses this stuff in possibly even higher detail, which I'm sure it does, because he's the one that investigated this. He researched these specific cases. These are all abnormal cases, which they have a different criteria. They're odd. They're not your typical. Excuse me. They're not your typical cases. So, if you don't know, Missing 411, for those that don't know, is a series of books and films that's documented in disappearance cases. A little fact based on his research that there are at least 1,600 people missing in the wilderness somewhere in the United States. And most people disappear in the late afternoon and during or just before severe weather. Now, another fact on that is, there's my co-host. He finally woke up. At least you guys get to see him. Tell everybody hi, Noodle. Are you chilled? Are you shivering? Oh, my little buddy. Oh, come here. You can hang tight here. Just sit on my lap for a minute. Okay, now this episode is going to run over, you guys, so hopefully you stay intrigued and you actually watch this whole one through, because there's a lot of insane instances in these cases. Are just crazy. They don't make no sense. Like, nothing adds up. It's not like a typical missing person. Not only are they found in, do they disappear in generally late afternoon and during or just before severe weather? They're found, it seems to be found around boulder fields. They also seem to be, for some reason, around where there's usually berries or something like that around there. Which, take that for what it is, but that's some of the small things, the nuances about it. But we're going to dive into these because I have 10 cases that I'm going to cover, okay? And I really tried to do some extensive, I tried to brush up on all this and actually get all the details that I can. If anything is out of sorts and you pinpoint it or let me know, just comment and let me know, okay? Let me know if I was in the wrong, because I want to give the right information out. And when you're sorting through research, sometimes something slips and you may get something that's not quite kosher. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's get started on case number 1. Case number 1 is Geraldine Largay. She was lost on the Appalachian Trail. She set up a campsite in a small clearing in the woods in Bennington Township and died in her sleeping bag inside a zipped tent. Geraldine went off the trail to use the bathroom and got lost. She had planned to meet up with her husband at a designated spot later that day, but when she failed to show up, he reported her missing. The following search and rescue effort was one of the most extensive. After her body was found on October 14th, 2015, less than 3,000 feet from the Appalachian Trail, investigators read through her journal to piece together what happened. The last passage was dated August the 6th. Excuse me. Sorry about that. She brought an inaccurate compass, and she left her satellite transponder in her hotel room. She was hiking with a companion, but her companion had to abandon the hike due to family emergency. Geraldine kept going alone. So basically, she has nothing of use to help, and supposedly she had a terrible sense of direction as well, according to her friend. Once she realized she was lost at that point, she didn't move. She stayed right there for 26 days. At times, trying her cell phone, but couldn't get signal. She wrote in her journal until she died of exposure and starvation. She had disappeared July 22nd, 2013. When found, she was roughly 2 miles from the trail. And the final entry in her journal said, I'm sorry, everybody, this is going to be heartbreaking, but her last entry in her journal said, when you find my body, please call my husband, George, and my daughter, Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead and where you found me, no matter how many years from now. The 1,500-page case file revealed the lengths the authorities went to find her, including weeding through false leads that her identity had been stolen, bogus tips from psychics, even one suggesting Bigfoot is responsible. Jerry, as they called her, set off April 23rd, 2013 with her friend Jane Lee to walk a long stretch of the trail from Harper's Ferry, West Virginia to northern Maine. The plan was they would trek more than 1,100 miles together. Jerry's husband would meet them along the way with supplies. But on June 30th, Lee was forced to leave due to the family emergency. Jerry insisted on going alone despite what Lee said was a poor sense of direction. Lee later told investigators that Jerry had taken a wrong turn on the trail more than once. Also, that Jerry was afraid to be alone and scared of the dark. Jerry's doctor told them she was prone to panic attacks and took anxiety medication. This isn't looking good for Jerry, you guys. I mean, let's just stop and talk about this for just 1 second. If this woman has been known to make wrong turns on the path already, prior to her friend leaving, so she got a bad sense of direction, number one. Number two, she doesn't want to be alone, but yet she plans on being alone. She's putting herself into an anxiety-inducing situation. That's not good. It just doesn't add up. It don't add up, you guys. But let's continue on. Jerry's doctor told them she was prone to panic attacks and took anxiety medication. Okay. So Jerry made progress, and by July 21st had reached Poplar Ridge Lean-To in western Maine. She was less than 200 miles from the end of the trail on Mount Katahdin. Her plan was to hike to Spalding Lean-To about 9 miles away, spend the night, then hike 13 miles to Route 27 crossing and meet her husband. A fellow hiker named Dottie Rust took a picture of her around 6:30 a.m. on July 22nd as she was about to set off on the trail. It was the last time anyone's seen her alive. Yeah, that's... I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, this is... It's crazy. I mean, the woman's been known to go hiking. And, you know, she's not new to it. She's not... And I don't want to downplay this woman either. Like, I don't want to try to come off and sound like she's some dumbass. Obviously, she's smart. But I think with everything stacking up against her the way it was, her best choice would have been to probably pack up and head out whenever her friend left. we all know that these situations, a lot of them, it's like whenever there's somebody that's alone, that's when this crazy stuff happens. And I'm not going to say what it is that happens because I don't know. We don't know. None of us do. We can assume, we can theorize, we can conspiracize, or whatever you want to call it, about anything. I mean, we could say, yeah, oh, Bigfoot grabbed her and threw her in the trunk of a car or something. You know, whatever. We can come up with whatever theories we want. A dog man, you know, Bigfoot. We can say it was aliens abducted, or or some psycho. Maybe it was a feral mountain person just come in and smacked her in the head. You know, we don't know. We don't know what happened. You know, but we can also claim that this is really crazy to think that the person. Let me just put this little nugget in here for you. The last person, Dottie Russ, that took the picture of her. Okay, she was quoted as saying that she had to take a picture of this woman because she was so happy and she was smiling. So she didn't have anxiety. She didn't seem scared. She wasn't upset, as far as it goes. But yeah, that it's just strange. It's really strange, you know. And they find her, in 2015? They found her stuff, you know, 2 years after the fact that she was disappeared. But at least she was found. You know, it's sad. I'm sorry I'm rambling, but I mean, this is a heartbreaking story. They all are. Every one of them. Anybody that goes missing, it's sad. We're going to go ahead and go to case number 2 now. We're going to continue on. Case number 2. Let me 1 second here. All right, case number 2 is Paula Jean Weldon. This is short. Some of them, we can get in deeper with some of these stories if you guys want. Just let me know. But some of them are a little shorter because I was trying to not overdo it. Some of these, we're going down rabbit holes with these things. I'm telling you that right now. Paula Jean Weldon. December 1946, near Glastonbury Mountain in Vermont, on Vermont Trail, passed hikers going opposite direction, then disappeared. There was 5 disappearances between 1945 and 1950 in this area. Has been named the Bennington Triangle, which the Appalachian Trail goes right up through the center of that. So not only is it the Appalachian Trail area, there's a whole square mileage area of the Bennington Triangle, which I don't know the exact square mileage of it. I can maybe look that up. I probably should have for this one, but I didn't even think of that because I got so much information I'm trying to look up here. But it's called the Bennington Triangle, and the Appalachian Trail runs right through it, as I said. She was a student at Bennington College in southern Vermont, and it was this day it was 50 degrees outside that day, and due to this, she was dressed accordingly. But the temperature started dropping. 4 p.m., she passed Ernest Whitman, and he cautioned her about venturing too far. They never found any trace of her after her disappearance. She was last seen on the Long Trail, December 15th. They called off the search. So, and see, this is what's bad. Some of this stuff you don't get as much information on it, and I tried to. Yeah, it's pretty crappy. But the thing is, she was from the college. She wanted to go for a hike. She was dressed accordingly to 50-degree weather, right? So you dress accordingly. But she didn't expect to be out as late as she was. She didn't expect to get lost or whatever happened. So she's out there later on in the evening and the temperature's dropping. You know, it's in December, mind you, in Vermont. What kind of drop in temperature do you think it's going to make? It's going to be significant, I can assure you. So what happened to her, it's, from what I can pull up, and as you can tell, it's very short. I don't think they really know much of anything about it, but maybe there's information, or maybe I just didn't hit the right spot to research or something. I don't know. But if you find out any information on this and you'd like to forward it to me, please do. And we can go ahead and do a whole episode just on her case alone if we have enough information. Same with Geraldine. We could do it with Geraldine. Now, case number 3. We're going to start on that because this is all the information I had on case number 2. Case number 3 is Mitty Rivers. Okay, Mitty Rivers. This is a short one too, Jesus. Mitty Rivers was a 74-year-old hunter. On November of 1945, he was leading a hunting party on Glastonbury Mountain. They were heading back to camp, and Rivers got ahead of everyone else. He never returned to camp. In their search for him, there was 300 volunteers and Army searched the area for over a week and only found a discarded rifle cartridge of the same type Rivers used. No other trace of him was ever found. Now you got to understand, I think I did hear that this guy is a 75-year-old hunter. He hunted this area for years. If he's 74 years old and he lives around that area, he may have hunted there for 30, 40 years. So it's not that he's inexperienced, and it's not that he doesn't know the terrain, because he does. So in that case, I beg of you, tell me, what could have happened to this man? Okay, we can go over your basics, all right? Something simple, that anything could happen to anybody. Most experienced, least experienced, it doesn't matter. If you slip and you fall down a ravine, or you fall off a ledge because you didn't realize it was there, maybe you misjudged it, you thought it was further away, or not even in that area for that matter. People get turned around all the time. You get discombobulated, anything can happen. And I'm sure there's more on this. I could probably research more and do a whole episode on him. Honestly, each one of these cases should have been an episode in itself, to be honest with you. I just needed more time to research more and try to find more stuff. But I was trying to condense and put what I can in here. I got 10 cases. You know, I'm not trying to make this a 10-hour long episode, and I'm sure you don't want to sit here watching it 10 hours. But also, we got the next case, okay? The next case here is his name was James Tedford. All right? And James Tedford, this was on December 1st, 1949. He was taking a bus. Now, he was taking a bus from St. Albans to Bennington, right? All witnesses said he was on the bus all the way until the last stop. When at the last stop, Tedford was nowhere to be found, but all of his luggage and stuff was still on the bus. No one claimed to ever see him get off the bus. So now let's think about that. This man was on the bus, and everybody claimed they seen him get on this bus. It was one route. There was no middle stops in between. It was from point A to point B. All the people that caught on from the beginning are going to be on at the end. And he was not there whenever they got off. Although all his luggage, all his baggage, everything that belonged to him was there. And there's no way of getting off of a bus unless you make the driver stop the damn bus and get out. Which means, if he did that, someone would have noticed. And no one saw him get off the bus. So what is it? Could it be a glitch in the matrix? Time jump? Could it be multi-dimensional nonsense? Some kind of craziness? Could it be an alien abduction or something? Maybe they zapped him up into the spaceship. Who knows? I mean, what even makes logical sense in this case? This is absolutely astronomically crazy. How is it legitimately possible? How can you logically wrap your mind around a man that gets on a bus and it's going from point A to point B? He's on at point A, but when they get to point B, he's not there, and no one saw him get off. How does it? The math isn't mathing, okay? The math's just not mathing here. For some reason, 2 and 2 ain't equaling 4 here. I don't know why, but it's just not math. Anyway, let's go to number 5 because we got plenty of other cases here we got to deal with. Case number 5 is Paul Jepson. And Paul Jepson's case was in October 1950. He was an 8-year-old. He was an 8-year-old that was playing in his mom's pickup truck for a while. She left him unattended. When she returned, Paul was gone. The boy's father said Paul had been talking about visiting the mountains around Glastonbury prior to this disappearance. Bloodhounds reportedly tracked his scent to where Paula Jean Weldon vanished years prior. No evidence or other sign of him was ever found. That's a little fishy, isn't it? An 8-year-old boy that disappears years later, and the dogs track him directly to where Paula Jean Weldon, which we talked about prior to this, they went to that area where she was found. Or where she vanished, rather. Not found. Sorry. I want to correct myself on that. It's sad, you know. It's sad. Whatever's going on is crazy. I mean, is there something going on in these national parks that's just... Is there some kind of a cover-up? Do they know that there's some kind of a creature out there, some kind of a animal that's unknown to the populace, but they are maintaining or containing it? And they're not letting anyone know? Could that be a possibility? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. If I don't know, I can't say for certain. I can't say it can't be, or I can't say it can be. I can only say what I think. And the same as you, you know. Okay, we're going to go to case number 6 on this one. Case number 6 is Frida Langer. Now, Frida Langer was a 53-year-old who was camping out at Somerset Reservoir next to Glastonbury Mountain. It's crazy how all these are close, huh? Her and her cousin went on a hike, but she fell in a stream and told her cousin she would go back to camp and change and return shortly, but she never returned. Her cousin went back to the campsite, but there were no signs of her there. Then they started a search party for her, and there was 400 people in this search party. There was no sign of her until May of 1951. Her body was found by Deerfield River. No cause of death determined due to the condition of the body. So they didn't find her for a year after her disappearance. Obviously, if she left for a short period of time, her cousin already knew. He timed it, or he or she timed it, and they realized that, okay, she should have been back by now. I'm going to go check. And this person goes on the same path that she went, that she had to have went, right? But there's no signs of her. I mean, if she fell and bumped her head or something like that, I mean, maybe he would have seen some scuff marks in the dirt trail or something. He might have seen her laying along the trail. Nothing. Nothing. He gets there. Nobody saw her at the campsite. Therefore, she didn't make it to the campsite. So what could happen between point A and point B? Again, I reiterate this. Hey, buddy, what you doing? Come here. Oh, my little co-host, you're just taking a break, huh? Oh. So I reiterate this to you, all right? This is going to be a reoccurring factor in all these cases. They go from point A to point B, or attempt to. You know, they'll start at point A, but they never get to point B. Why? What is causing these people to not make it to point B? Okay? And a lot of these cases and situations, it's always where it's not like some of these places aren't really ridiculous terrain or something like that where you could fall off a 500-foot cliff or whatever. A lot of this stuff is straightforward. A foot-beaten path that everybody goes on that is widely traveled, okay? And these people are disappearing on it. And there's no trace of them. How could they get far enough away to where the people that's looking for them can't find them? It's asinine. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And it doesn't make no sense. We all know that. Okay, that was number 6. Anyways, I got to continue on because I don't want this being a 3-hour session here. I'm sure you guys don't want either. We're going to go to case number 7. Okay? Case number 7 is Eloise Lindsay. Okay? She was a hiker, lost for 2 weeks in rugged South Carolina wilderness, fled from a search party because she believed she was being chased by men intending to harm her. And this is the first case where you've heard in it. From the very beginning, before the search started, she became frightened or paranoid that somebody was trying to run her down, said Oconee County Emergency Preparedness Director Walt Purcell. Although the 20-year-old hiker Eloise Lindsay insisted Tuesday that men chased her along the trail, authorities said they have no such evidence and have no plans to investigate further. I don't like that. How about you? I don't like that at all. On Monday, 2 days after authorities called off the search that involved more than 100 people for 7 days, Lindsay was found by a deer hunter a few miles north of the 43-mile Foothills Trail in Table Rock State Park. Give me 1 second. By the way, you like my new cool cup? Check it out. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, let's continue on. Okay, I left off on Monday, 2 days after authorities called off the search that involved more than 100 people for 7 days, Lindsay was found by a deer hunter a few miles north of the 43-mile Foothills Trail in Table Rock State Park. So that's where she was found. 6 months out of college, she told reporters she had gone backpacking to think about what to do next with her life. She said she left the main trail and got lost when she sensed she was being followed. I could tell there was no good intent involved, she said. The hiker had suffered infected blisters on both feet, cuts, and abrasions. She saw rescue helicopters overhead, but she didn't build a fire to attract attention. She said because it might have given her away to the men she believed were chasing her. Wow. At least she made it out alive. She disappeared and she made it. Which this is an odd one. This is a one-off here on these. They generally don't make it. But you know, let's put it in perspective for yourself. Okay, if you went out and you was hiking a trail, you're wanting to get some perspective on yourself. You're wanting to rethink your life situation and realize, hey, where do I go from here? I'm gonna go hike, take in the nature, you know, relax my mind, maybe focus a little bit, and think. That's all this poor woman wanted to do. And the whole time, according to her, she was stalked. And by whom or what? That's the question. She's saying men, so maybe she did physically see a silhouette of a humanoid or human-shaped person or thing or whatever, it. Because she would probably have to be fairly certain she's stating that fact. All right, let's go to case number 8. Case number 8 is Garrett Bardsley. Okay? And Garrett Bardsley was a 12-year-old that had vanished in 2004 and had never been seen again. It should have been an ideal camping trip in the mountains of Utah for him and his father, Kevin, when they set off to Uinta Wasatch National Forest with a scout group in August of 2004. However, no one could have anticipated that Garrett would become separated from his dad and disappear without a trace, or that there would still be no sign of him nearly 20 years later. Garrett Bardsley, so the official explanation that he died of exposure, was this accurate, or could something else have happened to him? I mean, what do you guys think? Exposure, or a strange, unexplainable disappearance that we can't explain, that we could theorize about, maybe? Okay, his last known whereabouts was him and his father had traveled to Cubrant Lake from their home in Elk Ridge on Tuesday, August 19th, and they were looking forward to getting in some good fishing early the next morning. But by 8 a.m. on August 20th, Garrett was uncomfortable. He got his feet and some of his clothes soaked through in the lake. He wanted to get changed into some dry clothes. Understandably, we all would, I think, if we got into that situation. It might have been chilly. He told his father he would head to the scouts' campsite roughly 150 yards from their fishing spot and swap out his clothes, then come back and try to land a big fish they could have for breakfast. The campsite was so close that Kevin, his dad, had no qualms about Garrett walking that part of the trail alone, and he then settled back in with his rod, but not before he had watched his son walk around the lake edge and called directions to ensure he remembered the way. However, Kevin soon realized that Garrett had been gone too long. He knew it shouldn't have taken him 15 minutes for the boy to get to camp and back, even if he dallied in changing his clothes. With a sense of foreboding, Kevin returned to camp himself, and it was then that he discovered Garrett had never made it to the site. He was nowhere to be found. Despite the short distance, more than 200 volunteers and search and rescue team members searched for Garrett on August 21st. Teams from Utah, Salt Lake, Wasatch, Duquesne counties were joined by additional search and rescue teams to help. Garrett had no backpack or provisions with him. He only had a short black and chrome ice fishing pole with him when he disappeared. Now they had searched for him on foot, horseback, and with dogs. However, the effort was eventually scaled back to 50 search and rescue members searching on foot. The only evidence they found was one of Garrett's Nike socks, which was found half a mile away from where he disappeared in a granite boulder field. Imagine that. No more evidence was found. So that's the last of the evidence, and they found it in a boulder field. Now, the boy could have, taken his sock off, because they said they found the sock. It was crumbled up like a kid would do if it was a wet sock and it rolls off your foot. You know how it reacts. It rolls up no ball. So he probably did that because he's tired of the daggone sock. He said, get this damn thing off. And he's probably maybe he went and hid into the boulder fields. Maybe that's protection because of the weather or something, you know. He went down in there and tried to hide in there. Who the heck knows? Maybe a damn bobcat or something got a hold of him. Might have been hiding in there. We don't know. But, I mean, in most instances, most cases, when it's an animal attack, when it's a predator of any kind, any shape or sort, there's usually a sign that you can track. Some sign, whether it's blood, whether it's hair, whether it's clothing, there's always some kind of evidence. And obviously, when they found the sock right by a boulder area, I'm sure they thoroughly looked it over. They definitely probably looked in and out. If there was any crevices, they probably tried to look in them. So obviously they didn't find anything. Because if he was there, they would have found him. They would have found whatever was left of him, or him, if he was still alive. So, that's James Tedford. You know, that's his story. Okay? We're going to go to case number 9. And this one here is another crazy one. And there's more to be had on these. I'm going to tell you right now. If you want to look some of this stuff up, look it up for yourself. You can research whatever you want. Or you can look up, I know Mr. Ballin has covered a lot of this stuff. You got people like the Lore Lodge. They're very good. They're really good researchers. You know, I just hope I can be as good a researcher as them someday, because they're damn good. But anyhow, I digress. You look up some of these different people. They're good channels. Check them out. You know, who knows? You might be something new to you. There's another guy. He does different stuff like this. Night God 333. Check him out. He does some different stuff, but he throws it out there. Like I said, it's all entertainment purposes only. And for entertainment and informational purposes only. That's what this is all about. We're trying to learn, soak up some knowledge, try to find some facts. Who knows? Maybe somebody out there that listens or checks into this or somebody else's podcast or whatever, they may have the gumption to get up and go out to the field and do the footwork, the legwork, investigate. And who knows, maybe might find one of these people that have disappeared for 30, 40, 50 years. Okay? Think about that. Think about how these people's families feel. They've lost these people for years, months, days, whatever it may be. You know, it's sad having to talk about this stuff, but these are all facts. These are all truth. And I wanted to convey this message to all of you, so you understand that there's some crazy stuff that goes on out there that we just can't explain. We don't know the truth. We don't know what's going on. All right, let's go to Charles McCullough. This one here is a little bit wild, and there is more information on this. I do know. I do know that the Lore Lodge did do a good episode on this one, and they dug into it a little bit. They went and branched off with some other stuff that I didn't even touch on this because, trust me, like I said, it's going down a rabbit hole. We can go down a rabbit hole all we want. But Charles McCullough, in 1979, a 19-year-old named Charles McCullough, a photographer, disappeared at Crater Lake. Many articles have been written about this case, and most of them seem to be written to pique people's curiosity. Many articles leave out important details which on the surface may not seem important, but when looking further into the details could explain a lot. Okay, Charles was an avid photographer and apparently was an experienced outdoorsman. He had aspirations of visiting each national park to take pictures of the landscapes and the wilderness. He He lived in Virginia with his family and was traveling when he disappeared. On January 29th, 1975, Charles, or Chuck, as they called him, was staying with a friend in Eugene, Oregon. He left his friend's apartment and took a Greyhound bus to Crater Lake National Park. He told his friend he expected to return on the 31st of January, 1975. He mentioned that if he was not back by the 1st of February, to report him as missing. This shows that Charles was a responsible young man for providing an itinerary for his activities. That's very true. A lot of people don't do that. Reports state he always kept in touch with family while traveling. Okay? Charles did not return on the 31st, and his friend waited until February 1st to see if he would return. Sorry, I got to put something in. Anyway, Charles did not return on the 31st, and his friend waited until February 1st to see if he would return. He did not, therefore he was reported as missing. When Charles disappeared, he was wearing the following items: faded blue jeans, a blue jacket with a hood, hiking boots with a snow shield, a white turtleneck with red and brown designs on it. Also in his possession was believed to be an Everest 288 frame backpack, which in orange. Okay, so it was like a hunter orange, competition orange, whatever you want to call it, the bright orange. And it had the metal frame in the backpack, so it kept everything together. There's nothing could, like, the backpack wouldn't crumble in on itself. You could hold you. It was a hiker's backpack. It was a top-notch quality backpack. Okay. So he had that, the Everest 288 frame backpack in orange, 2 or 3 pairs of Levi jeans, an army type wool underwear bottoms, or like long johns, Fruit of the Loom underwear, red and blue print bandana handkerchiefs, a sheet of black plastic, Boy Scout mess kit, handmade pocket knife, a cord, several 35mm film in black cassettes, a ring of keys, a knicker mat camera, a camera strap, silverware, camping silverware, mind you, a water bladder, his driver's license, his military ID, uncashed traveler's check from Bank of America. Charles was reported to have been seen at the Diamond Lake Resort on January 30th. Okay, this makes sense because he was traveling from Eugene to Crater Lake. Crater Lake is southeast of Eugene along Route 138, and Diamond Lake Resort is on the way to Crater Lake. So therefore, he had to have been dropped off. He had to have been stopped there from the bus. Okay? A park ranger reported that he gave a lift to a person matching the description to Crater Lake entrance on January 30th from Diamond Park. On January 30th, the snow depths around Crater Lake were 24 to 90 inches. Think about this. 2 foot to 90 inches, which is, I'm too dumb to do the math. 24 inches to 90 inches. All right? That's a lot of damn snow. Okay? And this is my question I'm going to ask you that I have written down already. Why would the ranger allow this person to continue on in these damn conditions? He's a park ranger. He already knows that the snow is falling down as heavily as it is. Why the hell would you let this young man that's only 19 years old go off into the wilderness? I don't give a damn how experienced this boy is. Your common sense should kick in and say, hey, no, maybe just hold off a day and wait for the weather to ease up. You can stay in a lodge here or whatever. Help the dude out, He's a 19-year-old kid, for Christ's sake. That's a lack of empathy right there. And that kind of shit pisses me off. That's not right. It's not right. if this is true that the guy didn't help him out, or he knew, or he actually dropped him off, but the guy said he did. So therefore, it has to be true. If the guy himself said he dropped him off, and he knew the description of the guy and the equipment, so he's not just going by the description of the person himself, he's going by the description of the equipment the kid was carrying as well. It's pretty damn distinct. So he had him in his vehicle and let him off at the entrance when the snow was coming down hard. Not only that, he should have knew what the weather out forecast was like. If you're a park ranger, you're not stupid. You're going to follow the weather patterns. You're going to know what the hell's going on. Period. There's no damn excuse for it except laziness and not giving a shit. That's my point on it. Now, after a year and multiple searches, on October 18th, 1976, some hikers stumbled upon a badly weathered backpack and a set of keys near Bybee Creek in Crater Lake National Park. The hikers handed the find over to the chief ranger. It was found that one of the keys matched a Volkswagen, and it was known a Volkswagen key was in possession of Charles at the time he disappeared. Now let's clear this out. Let's clarify this. He did not drive to Crater Lake. Yes, he had a Volkswagen bus or something like that, as far as I recall. But he did not drive it there. That Volkswagen key was just on his key ring to his house, to his friend's house, or whatever other keys he had on the key ring. Okay? So let's clarify that information right now. All right? So, the park rangers searched the area and found camping gear, a human skull, a lower jawbone, and several other bones. In my research, I was unable to find any definite or official reports of the remains and how they were found. Okay? I tried to dig into it. There may be reports, or there may be something that maybe I'm getting into this researching thing. I'm not the greatest, okay? I'm not a master researcher, but I'm doing my best. Now, if you find anything pertaining to this case and you want to send it to me, please. Okay? I'd appreciate it. But, it would be later confirmed by dental records that the remains were that of Charles McCullough, and an examination of the remains found no sign of trauma. Like no blunt force trauma, nothing like that. Nobody knocked him in the head or whatever that they could find. It was speculated that he died from exposure. Right? Now, I can add on to this. Like, as I told you, if you watch that other channel, Lore Lodge, okay, he went into depth. He went into depth as to Charles McCullough's father. He evidently was some prominent figure, okay? That he got the FBI declassified as FBI files and everything, which are redacted, like you wouldn't believe. Same as any and all files that they ever have. But there was something that didn't add up. Who was his dad? His dad, obviously, this kid was well known for surviving in the wilderness. For his dad to be like, hey, you're going out to another national park on your own? Okay. He wasn't concerned for a reason, because obviously this man has been, his dad had to be ex-military something or other. Okay? Even the Lore Lodge, they couldn't even find, they couldn't get information on him. It's like he was scrubbed. It's like sheep dipped or whatever the frick you call it. Okay? So let me ask you this. Why would that be? And if I remember correctly, now don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, his dad passed away sometime after. But his dad was hung up because FBI was not research. They would not investigate this case like they should. He was up their ass left and right. And he kept sending them letters. Now mind you, this is back in, what the hell was it? 1979, okay? You didn't have the internet like you have it now. you didn't have access to information like this. Okay? You sent letters in. That's what the old method was, to all you young generation that may be watching this. All right? But he sent letter after letter. But anyways, if you want to get into this more in depth, I highly recommend you watch the Lore Lodge's video on Charles McCullough. We're going to go into a rabbit hole, and I'm starting to already. Let's get to case number 10. This is the last case, and then we're going to jump into something else, and we're going to go into some explanations, some theories, things like that, okay? Please, I hope you guys made it this far. I know it's a long episode. I'm sorry, but there's just so much information to cover. Now, we're going to go to case number 10. The disappearance of Dennis Martin, which is, oddly enough, my dad's name. That's crazy. I just thought of that. Anyway, he was born June 20th, 1962. His name was Dennis Lloyd Martin, and he was a 6-year-old child who disappeared on June 14th, 1969, in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. The search effort was the most extensive in the park's history, involving approximately 1,400 searchers in a 56 square mile area. That's a large search area. His father was William C. Martin. His grandfather, Clyde E. Martin, and his older brother, Douglas Martin, were visiting the park together with him. It was Father's Day weekend in 1969. The camping trip was family tradition. So the family hiked from Cades Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day, they hiked to Spence Field near the Appalachian Trail, where they planned to spend the night. Dennis disappeared on June 14th at 4:30 p.m. or 16:30 military time, while planning on surprising the adults with his brother and other children from another family the Martins were camping with. He was last seen by his father going behind a bush to hide, intending on surprising the adults with the other children. So the other children was in on it. It's like hide and seek. They wanted to scare the adults or whatever, okay? Just typical children craziness. After not seeing him for about 5 minutes and all of the other children had returned to the campsite, his father became concerned and began searching for him. I mean, and I've watched the video Mr. Ballin did on this, and he was saying, the dad said he's, I don't know, say 50 feet away. He seen the kid go behind the bush. He knew damn well where he went. And he didn't see the kid leave that spot. Okay? He was intent on watching his son. That's what a parent does. So, basically, after all the kids came back and this and that, he's probably saying, all right, come on, Dennis, come on out. And all the kids they're back. What are you doing? So then he starts walking up, wanting to try and, see what the heck's going on. What's wrong with the boy? What's he being such a turd for? Pardon me for saying that, but I'm sure that's probably what he was thinking at that time. His father ran down the trail for nearly 2 miles until he was sure he could not have gotten any further. Now, mind you, he's a 6-year-old kid. How far is he going to run? He ain't going to outrun his dad going, bustling down the trail. Think about that. Okay. After several hours, they sought help from the National Park Service Rangers. Okay. The area where Dennis disappeared is marked by steep slopes and ravines. Wild animals such as copperhead snakes, bears, feral hogs, and bobcats inhabit the area. A downpour broke out shortly after Dennis's disappearance, dropping 3 inches of rain in a matter of hours, which washed out trails and caused streams to flood. Temperatures on that night of June 14th dropped to nearly 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? It's a bad situation for a 6-year-old kid to be in. Very bad. Pardon me, I'm sorry about that. Anyways, Search efforts, including a separate search by the National Guard and the Green Berets, found no trace. Now, mind you, the National Guard and the Green Berets are searching for this kid now. And no trace was found. Let that soak in for a minute. You have experts in searching for this boy. And no trace was found. It's looking really grim at that point, you know? Heavy rains during the first day's search and heavy mist the next day's hampered efforts. So there was mist the following days. So you can it hampers your line of sight. So up to 1,400 people were involved in this search effort, potentially obscuring possible clues. So when you got too many people in a search area and they're all tramping around and it's rained, what's it going to do to any possible clues or evidence? Because a lot of the people that was searching was volunteers. They're not professional investigators or searchers. They're not trackers. They're not any of that. Okay? So that makes it hard. It obscures the clues. It obscures any hints that they could have had. Footprints were found in the area, but were dismissed from the possibility of being Dennis's by park officials, who determined them to have been left instead by a Boy Scout participating in the search. Now, this is where it's funny. It's not funny, but it makes you think about this and their thought process, because to me, it's, from the sound of it, it's negligence. Okay? On their part. The child-sized footprints led to a stream where they disappeared, right? Okay. The tracks indicated that one foot was barefoot while the other was in an Oxford shoe, the type of shoe Martin was wearing. Okay? So, now I beg of you, question this. How the hell can these people, these park officials, right, say that it didn't belong to Martin, right? It was a Boy Scout that was doing the search. But yet, it had one bare foot and one track of a shoe. Now, who in the hell's doing a search in one bare foot and one shoe on? Kid or not, they're not going to do that. Especially a kid. Okay? I don't believe these park officials. I think they was just trying to close things out. That's my opinion. My personal opinion, but take it for what it is. All right. Retired park ranger and author Dwight McArthur believes that the prints likely belonged to Martin, as the tracks were not part of a group. That's another hint. They weren't part of a group. If it was a search group, like they said, a Boy Scout, it would have been in a group of tracks with others searching. And it wasn't. And none of the Boy Scouts were searching while barefoot. Like I said. All right. By June 22nd, 56 square miles of ground had been covered. More than 1,000 searchers continued to look until June 26th. When the search was cut back, the search was abandoned on June 29th after a last search. The search was officially closed on September 14th, 1969. As of current, it is still the largest search in history of Great Smoky National Park. Now that should tell you the scale of that search. It was massive. Dennis's father offered a reward for information of $5,000, equal to the current amount of around $39,900 at that day and time. Psychics, including Gene Dixon, offered clues, but nothing was found. A few years after, a ginseng hunter claimed to have discovered the scattered skeletal remains of a small child in Big Hollow, Tremont. He kept the find to himself until 1985 because of his fear that he would be prosecuted for the illegal ginseng. A subsequent search turned up nothing, because at that point in time, he held off on the possibility that it could have been that boy. you know. Now, let's go to the three main theories on this one, on this case, which I know some of these cases we didn't really go into the theories. Obviously, if we did, we're at an hour right now. It would have been a lot longer. Theories. Okay, three main theories exist. The first is that he became lost and perished from exposure or some other cause, likely during the first night. This is the most probable theory according to park officials, which we know they're not all there according to their indication on the footprints, right? So number two, the second is that he was attacked by a hungry bear, or less likely a feral pig, and carried off. Number three, the third is that he was abducted and taken out of the park by something or someone. His father was a proponent of this theory. Okay? On the afternoon that Dennis disappeared, tourist Harold Key and his family heard an enormous, sickening scream, and shortly thereafter witnessed an unkempt, rough-looking man running up the trail near where the scream had come from. Key looked on as the man got into a white car and abruptly sped off in it. Park rangers and the FBI concluded that there was insufficient evidence to link the sighting to Martin's disappearance, particularly given that Key's sighting was approximately 5 miles away from where Dennis disappeared, the exact time of the sighting being unknown, and the lack of trails connecting the two sites. Okay. All right. Now, if you don't, let me tell you something. A lot of times there's lack of follow-up on things. Okay? And I do know, I believe on one of the other shows that I've seen, they was talking about this guy here, this Harold Key. And when he explained it, see, I don't remember ever hearing this. This is all news to me from what I've researched about him getting in a white car and speeding off. I've never heard that before. What I did hear, however, was they said about that scream and stuff and this unkempt man going up the mountain. They thought it was a bear. That's what I heard. They thought it was a bear. It was a bear walking on upright. Okay? And they said they thought there was a little boy slung over its shoulder when it was running up that trail. On, like, say they was on like a ridge or roughly on a ridge or halfway up a ridge, and they looked across and you could see that trail going up the other ridge. And according to from some of the things that I've heard, now whether to take it for a grain of salt, I don't know. Do some research. If you find out anything, send it to me. Let me know. Because I'm interested. I want to know. I want to know what the heck the truth is, just the same as you guys do. And I'm doing my best to dig it out. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll find out. You never know. Now, what do you think? I mean, that brings us to the last part of this. Okay? And we're gonna try and wrap this up here shortly. It brings us to the subject of what could it possibly be if it's not a person with ill intent? Could it be something else? And what could that something else be? Now, there is cases known of feral people. Okay? Human beings just like you and me. But there's a difference. Now, these feral people, it's just like a feral cat. The damn thing will claw you up. Okay? If you ever seen the movie Wrong Turn or Descent or anything like that, somewhat gets the gist of it. But they dramatize this stuff too. Okay? They kind of amp it up just to sell tickets, whatever. But I don't know. I would say maybe Descent was probably closer than Wrong Turn. Wrong Turn is a little more possibly far-fetched. I don't know. But I could be wrong about that. Who knows? Now, if you think about this, like feral people, there has to be a certain amount of group of people to continue on, to keep this tribe, this group, whatever it may be. It can't be just one or two. They have to procreate. They have to continue on because they had to come from somewhere, right? I mean, maybe their population could have dwindled down and it could get to the last couple. It's possible. And also, you know, it could be possible they're living in caves. There's cave systems, you know, and just strictly living out in the middle of the woods. We have so many acreage of woods that people don't even go into. It's like untouched, you know. There's native lore. Let's see here. It's called Sackets. They call them Sackets. Okay, I didn't get to research much more of this, but I'm going to touch up on it. Okay, and if you want a whole other episode on this stuff, please put it in the comments. Let me know because I'll be glad to do it. I'll probably will do it, anyways. But I want to see what you guys want. Okay, so the native lore says it's Sackets. They're tall and broad. They have broad shoulders. They're more muscular, and some are capable to speak human language. Now, they live in caves and tunnels. They're about 7 foot tall maximum. They run fast, and they're very strong. And supposedly they speak what they call the Douglas language. I don't know. I didn't do much more research on that as well, but I could try to. They said that there was. See, these are just rough notes, anyways. What I caught. They had natives. Peter Williams. He's saying that they're not related to us. That's his thoughts. He's a Native American. Then there's another one that's Charlie Victor. Okay? And he thinks they are related to us. They just have changed due to their habits and their living, their environment that they're in. They're not in civilization like we are no more. So, is it possible? Yeah, I would imagine it could be possible. I don't think it's entirely out of the realm of reason that this is possible. You know, let's see here. In 1972, Albertian Ron Moorhead recorded vocalizations. Okay, and analysis made by scientists was said couldn't be made by normal-sized humans. They had to be up to about 8 foot 8 foot 2 inches tall maximum, at least around 7 foot tall. Okay, so that's, you know, you can call them feral people, wild men. They've been called different things. Then there's the legend of the Adlet. There's two versions. One says it's half human, half dog. Okay, now we're getting into the dog man. The other states they are just wild feral people and cannibalistic. So which one do you believe? We don't know. Okay. Then you got the tree men. They're tall. They have matted hair and yellow eyes. They're known as knockers. They knock on trees, possibly to communicate. They are said to help kids that's lost until found. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know. But there's also the other possibilities too. I mean, could it have been a Bigfoot? Could it have been a Bigfoot, a dog man, a werewolf? Could it have been one of these feral people, these tree men, wild men? I mean, what's your thoughts on this? What do you think could have happened? I mean, could it be aliens? Could it be, you know, we can go down a rabbit hole with this. Every one of these, we can go down a rabbit hole. I mean, you know, and you can look at other stuff too. You got different stuff like overseas, you know, as far as the Bigfoot. They have the big gray man of Ben McDoy is heard more than he's seen. Okay. Then you got the Amphir Luff Moor, stands about 10 foot tall with gray or brown hair. That's another one. Usually the footsteps are heard behind, then the fog sets in. There you go with the weather again. Okay? All this stuff seems to culminate, and it all has these same certain variants, which isn't too variable. They're somewhat staying the same. Certain variables stay the same. Okay. When seen, he may be a specter in theory. Okay, they also got what they call the wood woes, or the green men, which is 5 to 7 feet tall, sometimes taller. And then there's another theory, another one. It's called the ghillie doo. Ghillie doo is what they named the ghillie suit after. They named it after him due to the fact that this theory states that the ghillie doo is covered completely from head to toe in green moss. And they say that the ghillie doo, supposedly, in theory, has been known to help lost kids out of the woods to be found. Okay? And like I said, all this stuff is always, it always seems like these disappearances is near water, boulder fields, and there's always some berries or something around, in the, which is whatever. Take that for what it's worth. But there's also a story, if you want to, you can actually check it out, look up into it, because I've already ran past my time on this one. Sunny Bean. Okay? If you look it up, read the story, or even just look up a YouTube video about it. There are some about it, I'm sure. I'll do some more research. I may actually do a show just on that alone, too. Some of this stuff just blows your mind. So in closing, I just want to ask you guys, think about these. Think about these cases. It's insane. And that's only 10 cases. There's a lot more. I mean, because these are missing 411 in the Appalachian Trail and the Bennington Triangle. We're not even touching on all the other national parks. Now, I mean, could this be some kind of an elaborate deal where the national parks are covering this stuff up that they don't want us to know because they don't want mass panic? That there is unknown animals, creatures, predators, or whatever in these national parks that are literally taking people. And God knows what they're doing with them, which I'm sure we kind of have an idea. So if you guys like this episode and you like this kind of content, let me know. We'll do some more missing 411s. We'll go through them. I plan on doing it anyway. But if there's any particular stories, anything like that you want to find out about or you'd like to hear more about, let me know. I'm also going to try and do some instructional videos on survival. I kind of have one planned in the future now. I don't know. I'm going to have to get the materials to do it. But I was going to try and show you how to build a windmill as a sample, just to give you some survival skills. I'll go over some of my survival books that I have. We'll go ahead and look through them, and I'll go ahead and reference those books, and I'll show you which books they are so you can purchase them for yourself if you don't have them. I plan on doing a lot of different things besides just this. So this is the Trading Post, you guys, and this was the missing 411 cases in the Appalachian Trail and the Bennington Triangle. And I hope you watch this the whole way through, because this was very interesting. There was a lot going on, and rest in peace to these poor people that disappeared. Find your truth, okay? Research and do whatever you need to do. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye.